hardest animals in the wild to treat because they hide all their illnesses. They hide it because if in the wild they would be predated. So that's just the nature of the animal. Oh, I'd probably say strimmer injuries are the worst. I've had one that was cut from there to there. You could see right down the cavity on its back, right down the cavity on its head. It was full of maggots. We managed to clean every maggot out. We dressed his wounds, or her wounds, sorry. And eventually she grew back all her spines and healed up, and she's now tootling her about in the wild somewhere. But we get a lot of strimmer injuries and dog bites, dog injuries, because they're now in our gardens more because they can't get what they used to get from the fields. They used to live under hedge bottoms and get beetles and caterpillars and stuff from the fields, but they now migrated to our gardens, so they're facing a different danger, a different predator. They don't no longer face the badger out in the field. It's dogs, strimmers, lawnmowers and man-made things.
And we record the dates when they come in, where they're from. We've got another sheet that we use as well. So the only way we can tell if they're doing okay is to weigh them daily. And if the weight goes down suddenly, then there's a reason for it. Whether it be an infection or a tummy bug, and we check check their poo. We look at their poo, shall we say, and we know by the colour of it whether it's good or bad.
We've got a microscope, so we do poo samples when they come in, just to check that if a hedgehog's out in the day, it's not okay. So any nocturnal animal would never come out in the daytime. A hedgehog will only come out in the daytime because its temperature's dropped and it's trying to keep warm with the sunshine or whatever. Generally speaking, I say the most common reason is because they've got either lungworm or roundworm, or the roundworm eggs, which is capillaria, and we can treat for that and feed them up and on the way. But the fact that she was in a very tight ball, and I can't see any actual injuries on her, but she was in a tight ball, and she's only small, and they have to be 650 grams by the end of October to be able to hibernate. So these little ones will really struggle for food in the winter. So if everybody put a bowl of water out, made sure that water was fresh and not iced up, it would help so many animals and birds.
Across the road had a garden centre, and he came over and he said, "You like animals, what do you know about hedgehogs?" And I went, "Nothing." He said, "Well, I've got 3 little babies here and the mum's gone." And they were under his shed in the garden centre. So we took them in, didn't know anything about them, so we got hold of a lady in Althorpe called Elaine Drury. Wonderful lady, been doing hedgehogs for years. She knows more than I will ever know. But we took the 3 to her and she showed us what to do and how, what to feed them, etc. So I said, "Well, what do we do now?" And she said, "Take them home and look after them." So we did.
I found a small hedgehog that looked very ill down the lane from my house, and I'd met Ronnie and Frank at a local show, and so I rang her up. She said to bring it down, so I brought it down. She in fact was on her own at that point because Frank was away doing fundraising, and I just said to her, "I don't work Wednesdays, so if you need any help, give me a call." And she gave me a call the following week, and I've been here ever since. Basically, my day-to-day job, I come in, we do cleaning, weighing, feeding, making sure they've got enough hay, that they're comfortable, that they're the beds are clean and warm and dry. I also do medication because Veronica is able to use the microscope to look for parasites and things in the faeces. So I'm trained to do the medication, so we're actually given the treatment here rather than at a vet's. People think that hedgehogs they don't realise how endangered they are for a start. So everybody knows about tigers and rhinos and everything, but they don't realise they've got such an endangered species on their own doorstep. The need to protect them is absolutely paramount, and anything we can do to help protect them, to make sure that we do not lose the population in this country, is just absolutely so important for people to understand.
We had one, she's still outside, had the top of her head taken off completely. Doris, her name is. She's still with us. In theory, you should put them down. The general consensus is if a hedgehog is not viable to go out in the wild, you must put it down. I don't agree. My attitude is it might not be viable to go back in the wild. I've got an awful lot of people with enclosed gardens who will say, I'll take a blind one or a three-legged one, we'll take responsibility for it and we'll look after it. It's got a whole garden. It's not back in the wild, but it's living and it's living as normal a life as we can possibly give it. And I hate putting them down.
Oh gosh, that's a hard one. I think be aware, be careful and be aware. You don't realise how, for example, when you're driving your car between dusk and dawn, just be careful, especially down country's lanes and things like that. There's a lot of urban hedgehogs, so down your small roads around your villages and things like that, just be aware that there might be a hedgehog. And again, before you start gardening and things like that, just be aware of what there might be there before you start doing any work in your garden.